From AccuWeather.com, this is AccuWeather Daily, a brief host-read article. It's weather news in a nutshell. AccuWeather meteorologists are warning residents along the northern California and Oregon coasts to stay away from shore through midweek, as the sneaker wave season has begun and a life-threatening type of wave is on the prowl. A 40-year-old woman was killed in the surf in Siletz Bay, Oregon, last Sunday. Now, rip currents are part of the risk, but there are also sneaker waves, which can quickly knock a person into the surf, where rip currents may then make the situation life-threatening. Sneaker waves are larger waves and a set of smaller waves that may surprise people at the shore, and they can be deadly. Although they can happen at any time, the danger in the Pacific Northwest is most severe between October and April. During these months, cold water and debris can make the ocean more deadly, sweeping beachgoers into the cold surf or injuring them with floating tree trunks. Sneaker waves can also contain heavy sand, which can weigh people down, making it hard to escape being pulled farther into the ocean. Now, between 2000 and 2018, 20 people were killed by sneaker waves along the Oregon coast. To avoid getting caught in a sneaker wave, the National Weather Service advises watching the beach's wave patterns for at least 20 minutes before approaching shore. Stay farther back from the water's edge than you think you should be, and avoid turning your back to the ocean. Sneaker waves can reach onto dry shore as far as 150 feet inland. Turning our focus to the East Coast and farther south into the Caribbean, Melissa is poised to rapidly strengthen this weekend and become a powerful hurricane as it churns through the Caribbean. The intensifying storm has the potential to unleash feet of rain that can trigger life-threatening flooding and mudslides, high winds that will lead to widespread power outages, and storm surge that may inundate coastal areas from Jamaica this weekend into eastern Cuba next week. Melissa will spend many days in the Caribbean, but when it emerges later next week and starts tracking northward, its timing may coincide with a nor'easter in the eastern U.S., resulting in stormy conditions as far north as New England. The combination will lead to a new round of rough surf and erosion along the Atlantic beaches from the last days of October into the start of November. The timing and strength of a dip in the jet stream over the eastern U.S. next week will help determine the path that Melissa takes through the Caribbean and into the Atlantic. AccuWeather lead hurricane expert Alex De Silva said that at this time, the odds of direct rain and wind impacts from Melissa reaching the U.S. East Coast are very low. But there are scenarios that could bring Melissa closer to South Florida, and at the very least, some indirect impacts from Melissa are anticipated not only in South Florida, but well to the north along the Atlantic coast. Beyond eastern Cuba, the window for Melissa's track will range from the east to the north-northeast. Melissa would have to track close to the coast of Central America next week before making its northward turn to be able to cross directly over South Florida. Now, the more likely scenario is for Melissa to swivel across the southeastern or central Bahamas with torrential rain and high winds, and then into the western Atlantic, but well offshore of the U.S. Interests in Bermuda should monitor Melissa for direct impacts. Late next week to the first couple of days of November, there is a moderate risk that Melissa could turn westward toward Atlantic Canada. Offshore seas will be extremely rough and could pose some dangers to fishing boats and large freighters and cruise ships. Now, regardless of how close the storm gets to the U.S., rough surf, beach erosion, and coastal flooding issues are anticipated along much of the East Coast next week. Around the same time that Melissa begins to move over the southwest Atlantic, a large dip in the jet stream will develop in the eastern half of the U.S. The jet stream dip can generate a new storm or perhaps a potent nor'easter along the Atlantic coast toward the end of October. But even a less intense coastal storm, when combined with Melissa offshore, will stir up additional winds and rough seas. And a couple of worst-case scenarios. The jet stream dip could capture Melissa and pull it in close to the northeastern U.S. coast, or a swath of heavy rain could extend back to the eastern states as Melissa's moisture becomes tapped. During and in the wake of this possible storm duo, a colder weather pattern will set up in the eastern states. It is likely to be even colder than the chilly air that visited this week, with frequent showers and cold blusters from the Great Lakes to the northeast. The cold blast could generate the season's first accumulating snow or snow showers over the Appalachians. Temperatures will trend to 8 to 15 degrees below average by early November, which could result in conditions more typical of early December in some cases. That's all for now. You can find more regional forecasts and science-based articles at AccuWeather.com. And for your local forecast at your fingertips, download the AccuWeather app. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Be safe. I'll be back on Monday with more from AccuWeather.